Efficiency Experts YouTube. We just want to achieve.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my humble abode for the 7th episode of the Efficiency Experts Roundtable Podcast. My name is Gunnar. You may know me as Dragon Seance, and today we are going to be covering the Spring Fayre, the Menaphos trailer, and the Spring Double XP weekend announcement. First, let's meet our panelists.
Hey, it's Andrew, aka Determined.
My name is Jordan. I go by Wrathful.
G'day, I'm Shane, also known as Darkscope, and a big shout out to the fans.
All right, so our major update for the week is the release of Spring Fayre, which is a new event. And Andrew, do you want to give us a rundown on right when it came out and the subsequent changes?
Yeah. So on Monday, Jagex released the Spring Fayre event, which is very similar to the Summer Beach Party event, which we've seen in 2015 and then again in 2016. In it, players receive 100 Fayre tokens per day, which is an event currency that allows them to participate in a number of activities around the Spring Fayre and Lumbridge Crater, through which they can participate and train a bunch of different skills, such as range, strength, agility, prayer, and more. By doing this, these activities cost varying amounts of tokens, and players have the opportunity to earn reward tickets, and these tickets can then be spent on tradable unlock items, which give cosmetics, such as a couple new pets, a teleport animation, a rest animation, and so on. Upon release, there were a couple issues with this event, one of which was the yak activity was heavily abusable and gave far more tickets per token than other activities. It gave 20 tickets per 10 tokens. And that was also abusable during the first happy hour, during which activities do not cost any tokens to participate in. So that was patched, and as well as in response to player feedback being largely negative due to the fact that tickets were earned at such a slow rate that players were unable to get the cosmetics, or at least all the cosmetics, without participating through MTX. Jagex also,
or buying them on the GE
or
from other
buying them
players.
from other players who used MTX to get them. Jagex decided to make all activities give 6 times as many tickets as they had previously, and they also introduced additional happy hours for American and Australian players who could not be available during the first happy hour. Jordan, there was also an issue with Iron Men abusing this event. Can you take us through how that was working?
Yeah, so when the update first came out, it was live for about 2 hours, I believe, but Iron Men were able to purchase all of the reward tickets and coins that they needed via rune coins. I purchased the 44 rune coin package just to see if I could do it right immediately on launch, and I did get them, and I know people in the Iron Man clan that I guessed in who heavily abuse this for cooking XP gains, because that's the most efficient. But it's a problem because they didn't get punished. So
Right, and in this case, they knew what they were doing was against the spirit of Iron Man, but that's not necessarily something that they've punished for in the past, like the Book of Char method, etc. And I'm not too concerned with them not being punished, but they also didn't undo any of the gains they have. If you consider a rollback a punishment, then yeah, so severe oversight or lack of action on Jagex's part, which is not going to deter these same players from seeking a similar exploit in the future.
Right, and I'm aware of people who did this. Like, I know a couple of them, and while I frown upon it, I don't blame them. I mean, the option was put in front of them, and they did it. Don't punish me for something that is like in the game, but on the other hand, you should know it's against the spirit of Iron Man. But yeah, I digress.
So with this event, we kind of see a similar pattern to what we've seen with a bunch of recent updates, which is issues with balancing on release, immediate negative feedback on Reddit and other social media, fast jagex response, hot fixing issues the day of, and doing a little post-release balancing to make it more rewarding for players. In terms of the actual rewards from this event, the main reward, or the biggest reward, is the Fairest of Them All title, which you receive for owning all of the cosmetics, which you can either purchase on the GE or get with tickets, which takes 8,000 tickets, which takes about 30 hours using the current meta for best tickets per hour during happy hour, which is the prayer activity. And in addition, you have to find 10 hidden eggs around the event. You have to talk to all NPCs, and you have to participate in all the activities at least once. So that is the main reward, similar to the beach where you had Empress of the Sandcastle, Emperor of the Sandcastle as a reward. And I haven't really looked at the cosmetics much, but what do you guys think? Are these good rewards? And post changes, do you think this is a good event?
Well,
it's pretty meh.
I didn't mind it really. I thought it was fairly fun. I mean, in terms of the actual event, it's all right. Like doing all the little events, they're not too bad. You guys did. What do you reckon of the actual events itself? Did you find it fun?
I mean, they're kind of copy pasted from other areas of the game.
Yeah, they didn't.
A little bit.
That's fine. What I really like about things like this is bringing everybody to do a shared activity at once.
Yeah,
and I think that's an important thing for the game.
Will say is a definite positive for them is this is fantastic XP an hour for mid-level players. Maybe not for the high-end people.
So does it not scale?
Mid-level.
Is it the same no matter?
Well, no. Its scaling curve is a little weird.
It probably scales linearly while levels scale exponentially.
Right, exponentially, right.
Right. So there was a guy at 67 agility who was getting 150k agility an hour on the happy hour.
Wow.
How long does that last for?
An hour.
1 hour every twice a day.
Yes, there are a number of questions on how long a happy hour lasts. To be fair, though, I mean, when you go to a happy hour in real life, it often
it's usually
lasts
2
for
hours.
Like 6 hours. So
yeah. Happy hour 2 to 10.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, but I can tell you that you also get almost 200k hunter XP an hour. I don't know what the prayer rates are, but it's not terrible, and for the happy hour, it's good. For general use,
Yeah, I think where this maybe got a less warm reception than the beach, because I think the beach was fairly popular and well enjoyed by most of the community, is in 2 areas. One on the XP rates, which are probably pretty competitive for Ironmen in some activities. I know you said the agility is good.
Cooking and agility are really pretty nice.
And also for mid-level players. But for high-level players, XP is not going to be a reason they're going to participate in this event. And if you are just looking for the most macro efficient, best way to do it for a high-level player, you just go to Claudia's stall. You get 2 prizes every day. It's 2 free XP lamps, basically. And that's just like lossless XP. You can put in rune crafting or something. But the other activities,
overall, it's quite balanced.
Prayer is like 100k base prayer an hour, which is not very good.
But it saves GP.
But it's free. But
it is free,
which
but
a lot
again,
of people care about.
It's worse than Fayre, so if you have access to that method,
right.
Although that does have fairly high requirements.
Obviously, with a minimum TVC of a couple mil, it's not worth doing. However, a lot of players would rather AFK and find money making challenging. So,
on the other hand, you can make money doing this event if you sell the cosmetic items on the GE. So you might be able to make a couple mil an hour. We're not really sure because the prices are highly variable at the moment, but it could be decent for players, like you said, who struggle to make money. But the other reason I think it's less popular than the beach is that it's lacking that central feature like Claudia. You remember Claudia?
Mm-hmm.
Where just everyone would go there like almost every hour. and just participate. I think it could have used a little thing like that, a little hook to get
right. Maybe instead of like they could even copy paste it instead of that the agility obstacle in the center, not the course. But
Slide.
The slide. That slide could have just been a big mechanical dragon that went up like Claudia, or a clown. Yeah, there you go. Freaking give people
Clowns
nightmares.
are scary.
Yeah, give people nightmares.
Here's my biggest thing
That's okay.
I thought of.
Grigorovic is a clown. Continue.
The biggest thing that I thought of that I think would fix the other problem that people have with the happy hours is we have a Festivora that gets used every single year. That's only used once a year when we have like 3-4 festivals a year that could be of use of this. So just give me 2 activates on my Festivora, so I get 2 1-hour happy hours. For those of you who are not aware of what a happy hour is, so you get 2 of them. Just connect it to the stupid Festivora. You can do that for
right. But if
everything.
you can use them whenever you want, that eliminates the communal aspect. Like 82 basically lags out because there's so many people. Like I'm fortunate enough to not get much lag, but it does.
It's a problem for me.
There.
But it makes it active throughout the day, as opposed to a lot of people that can't make it at all. So you might get more people showing up over a long period of time versus only a certain peak number.
I'm there right now on an alt, and it's pretty much dead because it's not happy hour.
Yeah.
Right. So
all I'm saying is
overall, it might be more popular and might be better received if players could activate their own happy hours. However, it would lose that central.
I like that idea.
That's the problem, though.
I'm not sure if it'd be better or worse in terms of participation, but I do like the flexibility.
Right.
It's a good idea.
There are probably enough happy hours now anyway. I think there are 3 per day or something. So
right.
It's not bad.
Well, I think the main issue was the timing of the first ones. If you remember the survey taken a couple years ago, it was something like 60% of all RuneScape players are Eastern United States. And Eastern United States players who work 9 to 5 could not attend a single happy hour before they changed.
Nor could anyone in California.
Right.
Or any of America.
Yeah, America was pretty much left out.
The addition of these happy hours means if you're super dedicated, like if you want to participate in multiple happy hours per day, you can get all the cosmetics for free. Pretty easily.
In half the month.
Yeah, in 15 days instead of 30 days. There was actually a Reddit post about the changes where I think Shawnee, it was Mod Salin, stated some of their motivations for the changes, and they said basically they didn't want to copy paste the beach initially, but in response to the community, they did rebalance, and also that they intended for all the cosmetics to be achievable in the entire month with a few days buffer. But if you do multiple happy hours per day, you can get it done within 2 weeks easily, possibly even as little as 10 days without spending any money.
Right, but again, if you can make bank, like if you're PVMing, don't stop PVMing to do this. You're like the time value or the opportunity cost is likely such that you're better off just PVMing and buying the tokens. So
I think this is the key quote though, where in Mod Salen's post, I don't know she or he.
It's a she.
They.
It said, with our recent updates and events like Birth by Fire, Beach 2.0, Elite Skilling Outfits, so some of the stuff we've talked about before on the podcast, we've wanted to move into a situation that allows people to use their time and still get the same reward from what was being offered. So all these promos that were super unpopular because even if you participated every single day to the max, you couldn't get the rewards without MTX.
I do believe though that they're part of the that was part of the they're part of the MTX team.
She says at the end of her post she's on the live events team, but that might be the same thing. I'm not sure. So I like the changes.
despite the job responsibilities of the individual, I think the logic, at least presenting the logic to the public, serves to douse a lot of fires. Because one of the main things about Jagex and one of the main criticisms about Jagex is that they're not very transparent with their motivations behind why they release things how they do or why they make the changes they make. And say what you will about the last month worth of updates, they've been responsive. And that's something that is not to be understated. Obviously, we'd prefer if updates were balanced and QA'd before they came out, but it's not like they're shutting down like the Jagex of old and not responding to player criticism at all. They're making the changes quickly.
Yeah, I think we can appreciate the responsiveness and the transparency in their thought process too. It's nice to have. Well, I think that about covers it for the Spring Fayre. Gunnar, Jagex also did a live stream on Menaphos today and released a trailer video. Can you take us through some of that?
Yeah, so the trailer video is just a quick 30-second teaser introducing the Pharaoh and showing sort of what might make him an interesting and dynamic character. He's kind of struggling with his grip on power, and if that could be contested, he's already being accosted by assassins, and there's a lot of power struggle issues internal to Menaphos. So the Pharaoh is a follower of Tumakin, and not to get too deep into lore, but our introduction to the city is going to be a Krondis quest, and we're looking at, as introduced by the stream earlier, which thank you to I'm Rubik for the TLDW of that. It's going to be a mid-level city, which surprised a lot of people with the ramifications to level 120 Slayer that the dungeon provides. But it's going to be a mid-level city with the requirements being very low. They're going to be the quest Diamond in the Rough and Stolen Hearts, which are, I don't know if you guys remember, like 10-minute, almost zero requirement quests. And then it has additional content if you have recommended requirements such as Iclarin's Little Helper, 85 Slayer, 50 Agility, 50 Construction, 50 Crafting, 50 Divination, 50 Dungeoneering, 50 Prayer, 50 Rune Crafting, and 50 Thieving, which are some slower skills, but no particularly high requirements, bar 85 Slayer. But it does kind of lend to being a mid-level hub city, like the Prif for players who don't have access to Prif. So I think that's, pretty good for people going through RuneScape, developing through the game, and, making allegiances. So a lot of people don't find clans until they're maxed. And that's probably not good for overall player retention. So anyway.
I don't know if that's true. I think that there are lots of, probably most non-max players are in clans or the same proportion as max players. But maybe
I don't know if it's the same proportion, and I don't know if they find
we don't have the numbers, but it may not be their permanent clan, like their long-term clan. It may be a transitional, period for them.
True. But these level requirements are such that they're, I don't want to say making friends, but it's making friends.
Friendly content.
Yeah, and well, it's a place for people to congregate in a largely spread out Yelenor now.
I think that's okay, to be honest.
I think that's great.
There's high level content there as well, isn't there?
Because it gives all the other people, which is, basically everyone meets the requirements to get into this. 2 quests. They made the quest skiller friendly. They made the city skiller friendly, so skillers can get in. They even made mention of that. So, it's not something incredibly difficult, but it has engaging content that scales. They said that there will be some content that you will enjoy. Yeah, high level players, but I don't know.
I think a lot of it will be dead content to max players. However, the main draw of the city for us has long been the Slayer dungeon.
Majority.
Which is actually in Sophonim. It's just going to be released with the with Menaphos.
I've always only thought of Menaphos in context of being a Slayer update. So this basically tells us there's going to be a lot more to it besides Slayer. Maybe not relevant for max players, but looking at those level requirements, there's going to be a lot of new methods released, a lot of new skills involved with this update.
Right, and if there's any measure of scalability, maybe that divination method will be good. Maybe that rune crafting method will be good, maybe thieving. I don't know if you guys remember,
but for love years, a mid-level thieving.
Yeah, for
thieving
years,
the best thing in
the game was a low-level requirement.
I discovered this training my alt. Thieving is one of the worst skills to train at mid-levels now. It really is. At least if you want to AFK.
Right.
Well, you can't. It's have fun.
Blackjacking was the best in the game for years upon years upon years. It probably is. Probably is. Yeah.
I mean, it's not that bad thieving mid-level. You can sort of still get 200k plus if you want to commit to blackjacking. So it's not too bad. It's just you want to do elves at 50 thieving is what you're asking for.
That is what I'm asking for.
Or you can do the Thieves Guild.
There's no
you
reason
can do the
there
Thieves Guild
shouldn't be a level 50 version of elves that I can just AFK and pickpocket for 5 minutes for mediocre experience, but not great experience.
Right, for moderate experience for that level. So you're not going to get as much as blackjacking, but you're also not going to get as little as some of the other methods. And also moderate loot. You're not going to make as much money as you might make from blackjacking, which is all right.
I mean, this is purely hypothetical anyway, but
right.
Hopefully...
Yeah, but that would be something that would be balanced content that would
have a place,
voids.
Right? It wouldn't be dead.
Right. So what we want to mention is some more of the content that's going to come with Menaphos, which as Andrew noted, it's going to be a much bigger update than just the Slayer dungeon, which for a long time people saw as synonymous. And now we're beginning to see how it is an expansion. So some of that content is it's going to have lore introduced through multiple avenues. One is the library, which is based purely on player submissions, which the time frame for submitting those has ended. There's going to be a pub that is also going to be named and backed through lore submitted by players, which is still ongoing. There's going to be graphical improvements to the desert and nearby areas, which is no small task. A lodestone is going to be incorporated. There are going to be 2 primary threats, political differences, which are the focus of Menaphos, as well as Krondis, Apmaken, Amaskit, etc. So there's definitely a lot going on with Menaphos, and they've done a good job, I think, hyping people up without doing too much. A 30-second teaser with a voiceover, you know what I mean? It did its job, certainly. And I'm glad that they made the effort to do that. Are you guys more or less excited for Menaphos than you were when you thought it was only a Slayer update?
More.
I'd say more excited. And
yeah, definitely looks interesting.
I think my expectations have also been raised because we've kind of been on this streak of kind of weak updates or updates that seem kind of half-baked, and the kind of theory floating around is that Jagex is busy. Most of their resources are focused on making Menaphos really great. And that's kind of raised my expectations for
sure.
See, and here's another thing that I think is interesting about this is if they can boost their mid-level, their average Joe content, that actually is better for them in the long run, right? Like you retain players with good quality content for the bigger part of your it's where you're going to spend most of your time. This will be your hub city. But why not just give,
Oh, it's definitely better for attrition rates than just releasing 120 Slayer content. 120 Slayer content looks good on stream, and it entices high-level players. But the majority of players, despite, common thought, are not maxed. So if in terms of attrition, definitely better to introduce a mid-level hub and I'm actually pretty stoked about
I like the idea it has something for everyone, you know. Mid-level players benefit while high-level players aren't left out either. You get a huge demanding 120 Slayer update that's going to be a comp rec too eventually. So that's a lot of content to throw at high-level players as well. And I love the idea of the hub. Having a pre-prif hub for mid-level players, that's kind of one of the things the game's missing right now.
Have you seen how dead the G is on any given day?
I go there after warbands and it's like 5 people. So
I believe also the city's actually divided. Have you read about the content inside of it, outside of the Slayer dungeon?
Yep. Do you want to run us through the factions and districts?
Well, so there's actually sort of like multiple areas or districts within the city itself. Like there's like a whole large section for the slums, which is like where all the gangs and stuff reside, and then there's like a port, which is right on the ocean, and apparently there's also perhaps maybe a player-owned ports expansion in that area, as well as a merchant district, which is supposed to be a big marketplace, and like an imperial royal area. So I think the fact that they're sort of, where Elf City is basically the same throughout, having the multiple districts is really going to make the city seem much more alive.
Right.
And definitely.
It's good for lore because you look at Prif, it's a bunch of elven clans who are cooperating for once, and it has that totality of those individual factions. Whereas here we have the juxtaposition of that imperial pharaoh, the wealthy dude encased in gold with all his people around him trying to contain his empire, basically. And then you've got the slums and the people who are given nothing. It adds a dimension to RuneScape.
The political aspect is very cool, and you're right, the heterogeneity of it, to have different economic classes, different factions, versus Elf City, which is Prif is perfectly symmetrical.
Right.
Literally.
Right. Yeah, literally.
All of the clan districts are basically identical except for the skill-related content, but they're the same shape, and all the elves, there's no real difference between the elves either. You go around, you pickpocket them, you just get different loot.
Hey, Morvern has a scar, all right?
There's no
difference.
There's no conflict there. Like, from a lore standpoint, I think this has the potential to be much stronger and also feel more real, like a modern city with these class differences.
Or it's like they were watching Game of Thrones. And I see that as super interesting. And again, not something we've seen maybe since the Ardoin storyline with those political, that political turmoil. So I'm maybe most excited for that, unless Slayer gives us.
There's also like plenty of avenue for them to take and do multiple quest chains out of.
Oh yeah.
For like power struggle over here, we're under siege by our secret threat, the blah 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 monster. Like, I don't know.
Right.
It'll work.
Or under siege from within by by this Robin Hood character who's what do we want to call him? Jack of Spades.
Not to mention,
that's what he was referred to.
The desert right now. Does the desert have a Grandmaster quest?
I think the monkey one. No.
Do you know?
I don't even. I don't.
No. Do you know?
No, it's not. So it doesn't. So we could probably get one.
Yeah, it feels like there's room there to do more. The elf quest line's like one of the longest in the game. It's like 9 quests. The desert, there's definitely some mid-level quests there, and there are a lot of desert quests, but I don't think they quite filled out the high end as much. So hopefully.
What is Desert Treasures Master?
No higher than Master. I did it on my ult pretty early. It's really not hard. And I actually did it for the lodestone, because you can't get the lodestone without it.
So,
Screw ancient magics. I need this lodestone.
It's going to be pretty great. And I'm saying that based on nothing more than a 30-second trailer. So I'm, building up hype that will...
Well, that's the whole point of the trailer, though.
Possibly be crushed. No, I tend to get excited about things. And I think Jagex sometimes tries to tamper expectations. But I believe you're right. A lot of players... Okay. Thank you, Andrew. So I think response to this month's updates have largely been either negative or constructive criticism. And a lot of times players are quick to say, oh, they're just working on Menaphos. They're just working on Menaphos. Jagex is kind of stoking that fire now and saying, this is something that is taking significant time. We want to hype that. We want to get people excited for it. And I think it's working.
It feels like they could use a big win right now. So I hope it is.
They really could.
Yeah.
I would say next step needs to be revisiting the new player experience.
Probably. Speaking of big wins, Jagex did go for a cheap goodwill grab with the player base.
Yeah.
In addition to the Menaphos release, by surprising us with this new double XP weekend, one of the first double XP weekend to deviate from the every 6 month spring and fall schedule in the past several years. And they're calling it a celebration of the release of Menaphos. It's going to start on May 19th, be your standard double XP weekend. What do you guys think of this extra double XP?
It's clearly a please don't hate us, we love you still.
Here, have this. It's a distraction, which is fine. And whether or not it's intentional, which it is, players have largely forgotten about the last month already. Like,
it's the easiest way to get RS players distracted.
Yeah, like that's what everybody's talking about besides participating in the Spring Fayre. So I think, they fixed a lot of the problems with it, and then as you said, a token of goodwill or a goodwill grab, they said, all right, so we're gonna have this what is eventually a mid-level city, but a highly anticipated 120 Slayer dungeon. They're going to say, okay, double XP. It's time.
I think they could have done it a bit better by just making it a double Slayer XP weekend.
I completely agree.
Or double XP in all of the skills that are offered in Menaphos.
Which is a lot.
Right.
Or if they want to do something like related to Slayer, they could do something that encourages like double Slayer points, or
well, they did a double Slayer weekend back in December, and I think doing one now, like almost exactly
it makes
6
sense
months later, it would. And to help players get to that 120 benchmark, although then they wouldn't participate as much in the new Slayer content, so maybe I'm wrong. But are you guys ready for double XP? Were you, besides Gunnar?
No, not at all.
Were you prepared, Shane?
Well, I stocked up on subs already to flip for the upcoming one, but this was a nice little bonus. So yeah, I'm full geared.
That's pretty much what happened to me, except I had been stockpiling some stuff in anticipation of an Enlightenment type aura this summer.
Yep.
So some of my.
Do you think we'll still get one though?
I don't know. Because there's another question with this.
Does this count
DXP.
as our like?
Right. Does this change the schedule?
Well, there's another question with this extra DXP, which is, are these XP bonus promos or whatever events being devalued by having this extra one? Is their frequency going to increase? Like, is this a one-off or is it going to be a trend of more than
like
once
3
every
times
6
a year
months?
is kind of a lot.
Well, I think the reason for this is I know I've got a lot of friends that only come back. They'll often come back for double XP just for, the chance to get a few 99s. And I think it's them trying to get old players back
in advance
before
of Menaphos.
Yeah, so that players can sort of get a bit of. They'll probably run like streams at the same time, advertising everything.
A lot of exposure all at once, which is good.
And the player base goes absolutely through the roof when there is a double XP. So I think it's just about community building, and it's fine.
So you think it's
whatever negative effects
strategy,
it is that you're right. That's smart.
Then like an apology to the community.
Right. I think it's both. But having this
smart is what it is.
It is smart. Having this opportunity to do a sort of tie-in they are probably going to have JMods walking around as the character model of the Pharaoh, if it already exists, if they already have the assets. They might do some other sort of promotions that we don't even know of yet. They might do, there's some streams that they also announced for the Menaphos content, which is May 2nd and May 30th. So we're going to see May 2nd what they have done. We're going to see May 30th the final version, I'm sure, barring a few last minute touch-ups. So I could see them incorporating a lot of Menaphos teasers into the bonus XP weekend streams and festivities to make it feel more like a related promotion. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of feels shoehorned sometimes.
But you know what? That's their best strategy right now. They need the exposure, and to just shove advertisements, self-promotion down your throat. While some people might dislike it, it's overall helpful for getting people into the game.
Right. Like, for example, I know a lot of people who will say you should start playing when double XP weekends come out. So if a lot more people get on, they're going to have a bigger audience to try to keep playing for longer.
I agree completely.
I believe it's also coming along with the early access to the city with the rune coin payment.
Can you explain a little more about that?
Well, yeah, you pay rune coins, you get early access.
How many?
Succinct.
Do we know?
But no, we don't know yet.
Good. It seems like we have all the requisite information to make an informed opinion.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, you heard it here first.
Oh, well, I think it's a nice little money-making method for JX. They should try it out.
Okay, just a disclaimer. This exists in Shane's head only. For persons listening. But all right, I think we've covered double XP weekend and the Menaphos trailer and stream. So Shane, do you want to take us away with the Reddit thread of the week and your special segment?
Absolutely, mate. Well, this one's a bit more of a serious note, really, but it's nice to give JX a bit of positive feedback as well. This one comes from a bloke called Wumpery. And Wumpery actually posted a message from a JMod. They'd received it in their... a friend of theirs had received it. And it was a JMod messaging them about... they had been monitoring the chat of one of the people in-game, and they'd presumably been talking about depression or sadness or killing himself. And they'd actually messaged them about how to seek help and given them information about suicide prevention. Did you guys have a look at it?
I did see that earlier this week.
I think it's fascinating because it'd be very easy for JX not to bother with this sort of stuff, but they're going beyond the Call of Duty to actually try and help people and doing everything they can. They even mentioned that the person was from America, so they'd actually given them a whole bunch of information for American suicide prevention.
They're just going to make them more paranoid.
Jesus Christ.
No, it's definitely good. Jagex doesn't have the responsibility to do these type of things, but it definitely humanizes what we already consider distant or, more withdrawn moderators compared to other games. Like, maybe the old school mods are a bit more accessible, but adding that little bit of humanity to these JMods it's important, and it definitely makes it feel like a supportive community. So.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good thing, to be honest. I don't mind sharing. I have struggled with severe depression for the better part of the last 15 years and have been at the point of where I wanted to do it and have even tried to do it. And to see somebody intervene like Jagex did is really touching.
We either know somebody or us ourselves have struggled with mental health issues. As RuneScape players, we tend to be more introverted, and playing a game that takes thousands of hours to do things We have many of the personal qualities that can lend to more easily being depressed. So it's definitely an important topic for Jagex to consider and to reach out to these players. I don't know what the person said in game. I don't know whom they said it to, but no matter what, it is good for Jagex reputation wise. It's good for Jagex as a company to care about its customers. And yeah, I don't think anything negative can be said about it.
Yeah, definitely.
It's good to see them reach out, and we all hope that the recipient gets the help that they need. And I think that this is something that there is no way the Jagex of 5 or 10 years ago would have done this type of thing. I think it speaks to a closer connection that they have with their community nowadays than...
They'd probably even have muted you for saying bad shit like that.
Yeah, I agree, definitely.
Yeah, it's certainly possible.
Yeah, so good work, boys.
So it's good to see.
Yeah, definitely good work from Jagex. Another segment we got, get to know the boys. We just learn a little bit more about each other. And I actually got I got a few PMs this weekend from people who are saying, boys, we want to know more. And this one comes from a player called QT. You heard of QT?
Yes.
Yeah, she's in our clan.
QT.
Is she?
Just the 2 letters, or QT?
No, QT.
Oh, okay. Yes, I know who that is also.
Yeah.
And she wants to know.
I don't know who that is.
She wants to know. She says, after long XP sessions and high amounts of caffeine, how do you take care of yourself? What is your skin routine? Andrew?
My skin routine?
Yeah, what's your beauty regimen, mate?
Let's see. I have a little...
Andrew's a natural golden olive
First
color,
of all,
so he
yes.
doesn't need to do much.
As my fans know, I am a natural golden brown, which means that when you do find me out in the sun, which is rare, admittedly, but as I did play some golf this past weekend, which is a massive XP waste and went horribly, just horribly. I was out there for a while, and what happens is I develop a burn, but then, or just like a reddening, but then by the next morning, it's always become like a nice solid tan. I'm Mediterranean skinned, as for those of you who are not aware. But in terms of hygiene, I've got a little cleanser, and just apply it in the shower, and that's to the face area. That's about it.
Okay, great. So I basically do nothing. However, my girlfriend is trying to get me onto like a 3-step regimen, whatever, to cleanse, exfoliate, moisturize, blah, blah, blah. But so far, nothing really. I don't have any problems with that. However, the caffeine it impacts life in other ways. So for example, I have limited time to play. A lot of the time I'm playing until very early in the morning and going to work at like 5:30. So I'm chasing coffee with Red Thunder, which is not the healthiest thing one can do. So I definitely have to watch what I eat otherwise and make sure that I'm getting adequate energy and adequate rest. But as far as skincare, don't really require too much to keep this pale luster.
For me, I wash my face every day, and yeah, that's about it. Like, I don't get pimples or anything like that. Yeah. I mean, I have to shave because I have facial hair, but like beyond that,
you don't have to shave.
Nothing.
You don't have to.
I don't have to, but I should to be presentable.
What? You're making a judgment call. You need a beard.
Can we get a bonus question? What's everyone's facial hair situation?
Presently, clean shaven. Yesterday, I had a beard. Oh. There was an incident with a razor. Shouldn't have happened.
I see. What about you, Anders? Are you currently
well, as you know, I struggle in that department. But you know what I look like right now? Last season, I looked like Steph Curry when he started trying to grow his beard, and he was really struggling. I'm in that struggle phase, except I'll never get out of the struggle phase, so I'm just permanently stuck in there. Shane,
Nice.
You didn't answer either of the questions. So.
Yeah, okay. So for my facial hair, I currently look like I've been drinking a hot chocolate, sort of all around my lips, just covered in it.
Very
Very attractive.
Twirly mustache. Great.
Yeah, it's delicious, though. And then in terms of my my beauty regimen, I use a deep pore cleansing lotion, and then in the shower I'll use a water activated gel cleanser. And
can you explain exactly what that is?
Yeah, what is the active ingredient in that?
Water activated gel cleanser.
I could list off a whole bunch of chemicals, but it wouldn't do anyone any good. It's What are you giggling for?
Where do you get it?
I'm not convinced of your chemical expertise.
Oh no, I seeked out professional advice. Of course, I use an aftershave lotion as well with little to no alcohol because it dries out your face and makes you look older. So I try and keep that to the minimum as well.
Do they have like a Sephora in Australia? What do they have?
What's that?
A beauty store.
No,
online. All
right.
Yeah.
Well, the links to Shane's cleanser will be in the description.
Yeah, no worries.
For the interested parties.
All right.
I'm sure someone would buy it, to be completely honest.
That's all we have.
Excellent. So I want to thank everybody for listening. This has been and participating. Our panelists have been great, and I think we've been having some lively discussions about the current direction of the game and maybe its future. If you like this podcast, make sure to like and subscribe. We try to put out a video at least once a week. We're looking to do some state of the game discussions. If you want to participate in the podcast, please let us know. We have a Discord that will be linked in chat. So in the description, I'm so used to talking to you boys. But anyway, so thank you guys very much for listening, and we look forward to talking to you in the future.